This call is being recorded.
I want to call to order the MPC meeting for August 17th, 2021. Before we get started, Matthew Boscario, hey, I did that pretty good, would like to make an introduction. Thank you. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thank you, Chair Eichert. Just quickly to the Commission, I just want to introduce our new Planner 1, Taylor Felt, right here. Taylor comes to us from Crow's Nest Pass, and he did some private consulting as well. And he has a Master's of Planning from University of Calgary. We're very, very happy to have him, very eager to learn and get right into the work. So we're very thrilled to have him on behalf of administration. Thanks.
Thank you. Just to understand, you've told them where we stand on bike paths, right?
And welcome. We're happy to have you.
Good you're here, Taylor. This will be a great time for you. We'll get this show on the road. The Municipal Planning Commission is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is now open for public attendance in person. However, members may still join meetings remotely using our current teleconference process. As per Wheatland County Policy 7.13, members of the public are not permitted to speak unless the Commission agrees to hear from them. If the Commission agrees to allow the public to speak, the Chair will call upon specific individuals at that time. Please note, this call is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website and or social media. For any individuals using the conference call line, we ask that you mute your phone to eliminate background noise. Everyone has a right to be present in Municipal Planning Commission meetings. Any attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of these meetings may be removed at the discretion of the Chair as per Municipal Government Act, Section 198. We thank you for your cooperation and understanding. With that, Suzanne, we will start with, we will call this meeting to order. We have a copy of the agenda in front of us. Can I get somebody to adopt that?
I'll move the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Armstrong. Any objections? If not, the agenda is approved. We have a copy of the unapproved minutes from July 13th. Any corrections? And if not, can I have somebody move the minutes?
I'll move approval of the minutes as presented.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Link. I guess that is moved. Okay, we will start on development permit applications. We start at DP 2021-098. Thank you, Suzanne.
Chair Eichert, can we just vote on the minutes?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hold everybody up. Anybody opposed to them? Yeah, I know.
All in favor.
All in favor. Sorry, it's been a while.
We're here. We can in person.
Though that is passed. Thank you very much. Now we will go to 2021-098. I got COVID brain. Sorry.
No, you had it before.
I was trying to pass it off, Ben. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. I am Suzanne Hayes, Development Officer with Wheatland County. The application before us is DP 2021-098 for agricultural processing major. If we go to agenda page 14, we can see the location plan. And we see that it is 2.5 miles south of Lyalta on Range Road 264, midway between Highway 1 and the hamlet of Lyalta. Our circulation map is on the same page of the agenda, page 14. You can see that it was circulated to residents within, or actually landowners within 1 mile of the applicant's parcel. So just a little bit of further information. As per our usual process, any responses received after the application and agenda has been uploaded to the website We then have those responses FOIP'd, and then we sent them off to MPC via email. So then they receive them within that time frame, whenever we get them in today's meeting. So that's what we did. So since that time when we had uploaded it to the website, where we just had one response, and it was more of a question regarding process, we had 6 additional responses. So I've kind of added some content to my presentation that wasn't in the report because I didn't have these responses at that time. So with MPC's permission, I just want to go to a file that I have on the server that kind of shows where all the responses came from. I had made a map. Oh. So we can see here, I'll just zoom this down a bit. So I have a little legend here. All the dots that are in blue, if you can see them, are from respondents within the circulation area. So we have one here, one here, one here, one here. And then we did have one response, which I've identified with the green circle. And that person was just outside the circulation area. It ended right before his parcel. And then we also had one respondent that doesn't live in Wheatland County, but is related to one of the acreage owners. So that's the responses we got. And I also just wanted to show you, we had gone to the property to kind of look at where these, just to get a visual of it. So we were here, we were north of where the proposed building is going to go. We were kind of on the north end of the parcel where there was an access road. So that's where we were standing. And we took some photos. So this photo was looking north towards one of the people that responded to the application. They own the quarter to the north, plus they have an acreage here back behind these trees. So that was that's the view from there, from the north end of the property towards that acreage and towards that quarter section. And then if we look south from that piece, we can see the closest acreage on the south side. And like we're on the very other end of the parcel, but so here I just zoomed in. We didn't go any closer, but it's just a zoomed in of that closest acreage on the south side. And here we just barely could see the next acreage that was further south, the furthest acreage on the quarter there. Just some of the outbuildings there. So I just wanted to show you that before we went on here. So I don't, these 6 letters that came in, I understand that all the public has not had a chance to review all those letters because they weren't in the package. So I'm going to let Matt Boscariel address how we're going to deal with that.
Thank you, Suzanne. So I'll turn it over to the chair, just with the additional letters submitted and circulated. I'm wondering if, and at Commission's discretion through the chair, if there is time to read it or if you would like to read them out loud as well.
So, question, everybody has a chance to review the package, reviewed the email that was sent. Now, there was a letter sent by the commission, or just strictly to the commission, which I asked copies to be made and they were to be forwarded on to the Planning Commission. Was that done? Okay, perfect. And did everybody read the separate commission? So do we need to read this? Do we need to take some time to study this? Or do we feel confident? I know I've read everything. I've read everything twice. I'm up. Do you want more time, or are we good enough with having done our homework from last night and the night before?
I think we should take the time to read through these just to make double sure we got everything, because there's a lot of information at last minute that came in. As far as reading them aloud, I don't think so, but
Okay.
just make sure that the public has them as well.
Okay, so,
Same information.
so if we've got, can give the information to all they can get copies of whatever, if that's doable. If not, we'll take till 9:20 and we'll read through the packages to make sure that we're all refreshed and we all know exactly what we're dealing with here, so. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
That's all I can do.
Okay. Please, thank you. I feel like I'm reading to go to bed. Thank you.
Has everybody had enough time to read the material? Go ahead, Suzanne, you can continue with your presentation.
So we had circulated to agencies as well, and we circulated to the WID, and we didn't have a response at the time the report was completed, but I did receive one since. And what they said was the WID is supportive of value-added agricultural processing and the addition of capacity within our service area. Due to the importance of maintaining irrigation water quality within its conveyance system, the WID requires that all stormwater or effluent must be detained on the property and cannot be discharged into the WID system without the WIDs providing prior authorization in writing. Further, specific comment on the proposed configuration for stormwater, sanitary, and water servicing will be provided based on detailed engineering drawings and analysis when they have been made available. So the engineer for the applicant, Stormwater Solutions, reported that he has been in continuous discussions with the WID throughout the development of the stormwater management plan and is working with them to address all of their concerns. We also circulated to internal staff. Some of the comments are in the report, but I'll just review them briefly. So we did have the Transportation and Infrastructure had made a comment on the traffic impact assessment, and they said that there are no concerns in regards to the estimated traffic and intersection volumes that will be a result of the development. The impact will be minimal. Approaches constructed on Range Road 264 will be required to be paved in addition to meeting the minimum design standards. One of our planners identified that traffic and visual impact would be the main concerns with a suggestion for a landscaping plan. Our economic development staff expressed their support for the project. Our fire services department said that a fire inspection will need to be completed, so we have added that as a condition on the permit. A recent response was also provided regarding weed management from the Manager of Agriculture and Environment. So he had said, with regards to the concerns about the organic farming, he had said that there are other organic operations in the county that have been operating for a number of years. It is a legitimate method of production that people use because of the marketing possibilities and or because of personal beliefs that it is a more sustainable way to farm. Organic farming is a method of agricultural production that will face specific management challenges like any other agricultural operation. Because the challenges will be different than on a conventional farm, they will be dealt with through different management techniques. From a municipal standpoint, weed or soil conservation related concerns would be dealt with through discussions with the landowner regarding management options, with the basis for those discussions being on the Alberta Weed Control Act and the Soil Conservation Act. So if we go now to our aerial photos and site plan on page 16 and 17, 15, 16, 17 of the agenda package. We will see this aerial photo showing, not to scale, but the proposed facility of 25,600 square feet. It's a processing plant that will include processing areas, warehouse space, and offices. And it will be for organic food products such as oats, beans, lentils, peas, seeds, and spices that are bought in bulk and processed and packaged before being distributed to retail. The equipment used will be small, semi-automatic, and fully automatic packagers. They take food-grade product and weigh and insert the product into bags. The bags are sealed, and the sealed bags are put into boxes. The boxes are put on pallets and stored within the plant for shipping to grocery stores. Fire suppression for the development is proposed via a sprinklered building using lined fire ponds. Should there be an issue for retaining the water for fire flow, the applicant will need to supply an alternate method for water retention for fire suppression. We confirmed with Park Enterprises, who is our safety codes inspection agency, and they said that the requirements for this would fall under the building and fire codes, which will be addressed at the building permit review. Hours of operation and employees. They are proposed to be 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, requiring 10 employees. If the applicant chooses to expand the facility and make it more intensive or produce significantly more traffic, employees, or add additional buildings, an amendment to the permit would be required. Water and wastewater. So the water usage is projected to be 300 cubic meters per year, as all packaging is dry goods. So the water is only necessary for washing and sanitizing equipment and for the kitchen and bathroom uses. The applicant will be using a water cistern to supply the necessary water to the facility. No well will be drilled. That was the original plan, was to drill a well and get a commercial license, but they have since decided not to do that because they do have minimal water use and they feel that their needs will be met with a cistern. Environmental, so the business activities and storage will occur within the building, producing no outside environmental impacts. All cleaning and sanitizing products are organically certified. The building site does not contain wetlands, rivers, or slopes, and no concerns were raised from the Wheatland County Environmental Coordinator. The parcel is not identified as an environmentally significant area or bird habitat according to our Munisite data, so no environmental studies had been requested. Traffic, the TIA was submitted, and I'll just give a little bit of traffic information. The 141-acre parcel is located approximately midway between Highway 1 and the hamlet of Lyalta. Range Road 264 is 2 lanes and asphalt surface from Highway 1 to the junction of 564. And I'm going to make a correction that I said that it was a 90 kilometer per hour speed limit, but it is actually 100 kilometers per hour, so my apologies for that error. Further clarification on the traffic calculations. In the TIA it said, with only 10 employees at the facility and 1 delivery a day on average, there should be 22 trips per day, with the majority being from employee vehicles. 10 employees arriving in the morning and leaving in the afternoon, and 1 delivery vehicle arriving and then later leaving in the day. Even if some employees travel during the day or there are additional deliveries, the total number of trips generated per day at this facility is likely to be less than 30 trips per day. The applicant has stated that he is willing to pave the parking and the loading areas to reduce dust concerns raised about having gravel in the loading areas. So he is willing to pave the loading areas as well. Lighting, the applicant has submitted a lighting plan in accordance with dark sky requirements. McElhaney has completed their review of the lighting plan, and it was found to be satisfactory. The review ensured the plan was in alignment with the industry recommendations and would not cause undue light trespass onto neighboring properties. The applicant will be required to conform to the approved plan. And we did see that there was examples of the lights were on page 18 of the agenda package. Those were some of the lights they were gonna had in their lighting plan. Landscaping. A professional landscaping concept plan has been developed, which is in excess of the requirements provided in the county landscaping and screening guidelines to mitigate the visual impact. For example, the screening guidelines only require full screening such as the applicant is proposing for garbage or waste areas or for specific areas that have mechanical or electrical equipment. The screening guidelines do suggest additional screening may be required for development adjacent to residential development. So the plan includes a berm and plantings adjacent to the nearest acreage to the south. So a berm of 2 meters high is a maximum of 2 meters high is proposed, which will also include mixed plantings along the entire length of the acreage property line. The landscaping concept plan has been reviewed by staff and found to be satisfactory, with further details forthcoming. For it to be fully approved, it will require numbers and size of plants and breakdown to show each type of plant's location on the plan. As with other developments, a condition has been added to ensure securities are provided until the landscape plantings are well established. A condition has been added to ensure securities have been retained for 1 year after the landscaping has been accepted as constructed according to the approved plan. The landscaping concept plan is found in the agenda package on page 18. The applicant has also stated that he will utilize a water truck to ensure the plantings have adequate water and are able to grow in a healthy way. So some policy review. The application was reviewed against the Municipal Development Plan, which states that the county shall encourage the inclusion of value-added operations and accessory uses. That the water resource policies within the MDP says they must comply with the municipal requirements in the Provincial Water Act, so they do. The commercial and industrial development policies say that the county shall require that commercial and industrial development applications demonstrate they will cause no significant adverse impacts on the natural environment, including but not limited to ground and surface water, soil quality, air quality, wildlife, and vegetation. If impacts are expected, the applicant must demonstrate how these will be mitigated. The county shall consider the broader area context and impact upon it when considering a commercial or industrial development, and the county shall support opportunities for agro-industrial activities, such as the processing or shipping of agricultural products where appropriate to support the agricultural and related industries. So in the land use bylaw, we have different zones within the bylaw, different districts. This property is zoned as the Agricultural General District. Within each land use district listed in the land use bylaw, the district lists both permitted and discretionary uses. Permitted uses may be approved by the development officer, and discretionary uses must go before the Municipal Planning Commission for approval. So, one of the discretionary uses listed within the Ag General District is agricultural processing major. So anybody can apply for that use. Agricultural processing major means a large-scale business operation that includes the use of land and or a building for the upgrading of a product for distribution or sale that was originally produced in an agricultural operation. Due to the large-scale nature of the business, the agricultural products may be produced on-site or off-site. An agricultural processing major operation may produce some off-site impacts such as noise, appearance, or odor. So the proposal, some of the considerations for this decision we looked at, the proposal meets the criteria of the MDP for value-added uses of agricultural operations. The proposal fits within the uses prescribed in the Agricultural General District and the definition for agricultural processing major. The approved lighting plan, or the lighting plan was approved by McElhaney Engineering and found to be satisfactory and was in alignment with dark sky requirements, industry recommendations, and would not cause undue light trespass. Extensive landscaping has been proposed with securities required until the plants are well established. An additional berm and plantings are proposed to screen the nearest acreages on the south side. The property is surrounded by agricultural and residential uses. Additionally, there is an existing fertilizer facility and a business for custom product packaging and warehousing 2 miles south along the same road. Any expansion will require an amendment to the development permit. In conclusion, on page 9 and 10 of the agenda package is the recommendation. Staff are recommending approval of the agricultural processing major for subject to the conditions as noted. And on page 12, we have Municipal Planning Commission's standard 3 options that they can accept the recommendation, not accept the recommendation, or they can provide an alternate recommendation of their choosing. And that concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have questions.
Thank you, Suzanne. That was very, very, very well done. NPC's wishes.
After reading some of this, I'd like to address some of the things that were brought forward here. just for clarification for the commission.
Can we probably have a motion get a motion on the floor, and then we'll have the discussion?
I'd just like to address some of the things that were said in here prior, if that's all right.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
So on August 3rd, 2021... Oh, sorry. On August 3rd, 2021, I got a call in the morning to attend a site meeting at the area with the developer that was mentioned here. Prior to that, I had no knowledge of really the development other than hearsay. Everybody that was in attendance, some of my residents here, had the package in front of them, all the information available. I was just going there to see what was going on. When I arrived, there was about 12 people, including the developer on site. Several questions were asked of myself, and I had said to them, I do not have the package in front of me. I don't have the information that you have. I also said to people, this will go before MPC. I am one vote of 7. Your questions, this is the appropriate venue for this, right here and now. That is why I have not engaged in anything prior to this with the emails or anything like that. I just wanted to clear that up. So, yeah, I just want to clear it. So any questions of my fellow commissioners, I'm happy to answer.
Can I get a motion, please?
I'll move the recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Discussion.
Yeah, through the chair. I think if they follow the conditions, I don't see a problem with this. Some of the comments in the resident letters discussing the issues around the development and the process of the development, and especially the ones where they talk about where it's detrimental to agriculture. It's probably more advantageous for development to agriculture, and this county promotes agricultural awareness and industry in ag industry, and it's probably better for our ag industry than all the acreages that are being developed around there. They're more detrimental to agriculture than this business will be, so I don't have a problem with it.
Yes, Commissioner Kester.
Just question the berm and the landscaping. I don't think there's going to be a lot of noise generated at this plant, just some traffic, 10 vehicles a day or something. I'm just wondering, is the berming and the trees necessary? There are trees out in that area, of course, and whatnot, but the long-term effects of the berm, if it's looked after, it's nice, but if it's not, after 5 years, it's going to be a headache. And I don't think it's necessary in my, because there are other plants on that road that aren't bermed, and no trees there for sure, so.
Yes, so if you can see on this diagram for the landscaping, this is the berm on the south side. So it's just a berm in front of the nearest acreage, and I think it's meant more for visual screening, and the applicant was okay with that idea. There was one of the circulation responses came back that somebody was asking for one on the north side of the quarter as well, and that, in my opinion, seemed to have a lot of trees around the north where that acreage was located. I showed the pictures looking north, it seemed to have a really good shelter belt. So in my opinion, the south one may be reasonable, but I didn't think that the north one would be.
How high a berm?
They're saying no more than 2 meters high.
Like a nice row of trees or a shelter belt without the berm. If we don't have a berm and you plant a shelter belt, it'll look after itself a lot easier. If you have a berm and got a lot of rain like this, rain runs off, it takes more maintenance to manage a tree on top of a hill than just on the flat location there. So
I guess they can discuss that with the landowner. They were trying, I think they may have already discussed it with him, and that's kind of what they had come up with, but they can definitely discuss it between them of what's going to work best. I think that was their goal, was to work with that landowner.
Okay, so if it's between the landowner and developer, I don't have a problem with it, but for the county to get involved and require it as a condition, that's where I I draw the line. If he wants to do that as a good neighbor, fine. I got nothing to say.
Yeah, that he came to us with that idea about the berm. We didn't tell him he needed to berm that after discussions with the landowner, I believe. But the landscape plan will have to be approved by staff, and we can definitely talk about, I'll make that as a point to make sure that it's the best scenario for both.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Yes, Commissioner Clausen.
Can you please highlight the rationale on ag major and minor uses? I know that was a question of the public about this, and ag major being what this is used, and also the commercial aspect of it. That was a question that I was asked as well, because one is a tax implication, one is a land use. So whoever would be best to explain that, please.
So the difference between ag processing minor and ag processing major, I didn't include the definition for minor, but I could read it. I think the main difference is that for ag processing minor, the processing has to be from crops grown on land on the site. Agricultural processing minor means a small-scale value-added agricultural operation that includes the use of land and or a building for the upgrading of a product for distribution or sale that was originally produced in an agricultural operation. These minor operations are intended to primarily use agricultural products which are produced on site. So I think that's the big difference, is the scale of it, and that an applicant can accept products from any other farmer and come to the site and then repackage them or whatever he does to upgrade the product. And Matt, did you have something to add, or?
Well, those are just through the chair. Those are exactly it that the development officer pointed out as versed in our land use bylaw. But one more thing that I just want to kind of talk about in terms of process is ultimately whatever the use may be. So as Suzanne pointed out, this is agricultural general. Obviously, there's a trickle effect. So there's what is permitted, what are permitted uses, which have definitions. So in the ag general district, you have discretionary uses. This is why we're here today. So obviously, in the professional opinions of the planning staff and the development officer staff, the suitability for ag processing major, which falls under discretionary, is in the ag general zone. So that's the difference. We have the land use, and then what are the definitions and classifications of uses that fit. So this is discretionary. Obviously, the land use bylaw has gone through many different renditions. We amend it constantly, but in the professional planning opinion of the land use bylaw and how it's structured, the intent of specific areas across our county are intended for various uses. So this one, in fact, being ag general, with the definitions associated with ag general being zoned in this particular region of the county, this use, in our opinion, is very suitable. So as the development officer pointed out in her presentation, we have obviously this coming before MPC as the development authority to make the utmost and final determination as to how this development, obviously within its site plan and within its configuration, may fit in this area. In the land use bylaw's opinion, and in our opinion, it's suitable. So that's ultimately where it lies in terms of from a policy analysis perspective. Thank you.
Thanks.
Any more discussion? Yes, Councillor, or Commissioner Link.
Just a couple of comments. I think we all take our responsibilities as a planning commission extremely seriously. I think it's really important that we do consider concerns about potential impacts on adjacent landowners, and our process and legislative requirements make sure that this happens. Through conditions, we can mitigate those potential impacts on adjacent landowners where possible. We have thoroughly reviewed the concerns that have been expressed, and in my opinion, I think the impacts on adjacents or potential impacts have been carefully attended to, and mitigation has been outlined within the conditions that have been presented by administration. I know that we also as a commission do balance our responsibility to mitigate those impacts on adjacent landowners with our responsibility to facilitate an environment that contributes to long-term sustainability of Wheatland County. And that is a complex notion when you look at sustainability. I look at that in terms of quality of life, but also from the financial perspective, which requires investment attraction and diversifying our tax base. And so I think it is important that as a municipality, we maintain our roots and the agriculture, which made Wheatland County what it is, but are also open to some of these value-added initiatives, particularly where the potential impacts can be mitigated. So I was really pleased to see the attention to detail in the concerns that were expressed and in the developer's responsiveness to those concerns, and as well administration's work on ensuring that that will be entrenched in conditions. I did support the retention of both agricultural processing minor and major in our land use bylaw agricultural general district. Part of my rationale for this position was because this actually protects landowners of adjacent land that is zoned agricultural general district. And it does that because it precludes heavier industrial use, which could have more impact on you when it's rezoned to one of our industrial designations. If an industrial use is proposed in the future, redesignation will be required and will include a full public hearing. So I think this actually does prevent those impacts, and I've actually seen it at times. There's one situation where there is an issue where it was zoned industrial and the use can change, and as the use increases in that industrial zoning, the impacts can definitely become significant. So I fully support as a municipality that we do retain this in that agricultural general use, just because it actually contributes to maintaining that character, even though there will be a building there. The building is obviously instrumental to mitigating some of the other issues that could be experienced in terms of dust or noise, or I wouldn't anticipate odors with food sources, or with food packaging, but yeah, so I will be supporting the motion based on that rationale.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Yes.
Hard to follow that one. You always do a very good explanation. Yeah, I basically boil it down to, and I think I said it to the group that day, it's a delicate balance that we have to sit here, and I take my vote very seriously. I never prejudge anything I do. We are looking at the county as a whole, and we're agricultural based. This is a diversification of agriculture. In the future, people may not agree, organic or not organic, but this is definitely an agricultural product. The developer has mitigated as much as he can, gone above and beyond, in my opinion, to mitigate a lot of concerns, and that is definitely appreciated because they don't have to do that. It definitely goes forward for the public, so I'll wait till I vote.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Scott Clausen. Is there any other discussion? Yes.
Just very briefly.
Yes.
Just what I would echo exactly what Commissioner Clausen said. I'd also just add to that how critical the letters are and the feedback that we do receive from our ratepayers and the adjacent landowners. The process does work. We do circulation carefully. That is a legislated requirement. But then this commission does really attend to the letters that are sent in and look at how are the concerns that you're expressing going to be mitigated with each application. There are times where the concerns where we don't necessarily deem they can be mitigated, but where they can, we need to look at those applications carefully. So I guess I want people to have confidence in the process that we have and in the importance, because I know people put effort into attending today and to corresponding with the commission, and that's valuable for us, and I think it's valuable for our administration when they're reviewing applications as well.
Thank you. Any other discussions? I would just like to, I appreciate where the people that are their concerns are. I understand that, and I use it in my own story. I'm going to bore you a story. When I moved out to the farm with my parents, within a 2-mile radius, there were 6 farmhouse residences. There were 6 other residences within a 2-mile radius. Now, there's, with residences and approved subdivisions, there's probably over 50. And if you look at it just that all of a sudden my area has become crowded, you can look at it that way. But also the county, we as county have made conscious decisions to put infrastructure into specific areas in order for those areas to grow, to allow businesses to be done there and all that. So we have to, we as a council have made a conscious decision that if we're going to put infrastructure into that area, you have to use that infrastructure. Would we have been as keen about this as if this was on a gravel road somewhere? I don't think so. I think the reason that road was paved to Lyalta was to help advance business in the area. So, yeah, it's one of those things. We have decided that, and I have made it my number one thing as a councillor is that residential taxation and farmland taxation has to be as low as it can be, and in order to maintain that, we have to have a lot of industry. We have to attract industry to take over the fact that the oil and gas is starting to fall off. So, yeah. So, having said that, this falls into all the categories. Amber's brought it up way better, explained it way better than I could ever bring it up. But so, we have a motion in front of us. I will call the vote. All in favor? So, what did I do wrong now this time?
Nope, nothing.
Thank you. The motion is passed. We will move on to DP 2021-109. Oh, I want to thank all you folks for coming to this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Number 109. Thank you, Suzanne. Yes.
Sorry. I wanted to bring it up after, and it can be brought up at council, but whether if the planning could actually send the councillor of the area package that if a development's going through, and it could be different developments for different, like some of our areas are quite large where I don't get a letter knowing what's going to be at the package, what's in the package. Like Scott was saying, he didn't actually know. Whether you're on the commission or not, at least have, it happens that the councillors are on the commission. But if the councillor of the area
is circulated
at the same time as the... Right.
Through the chair, we can circulate the area councillor.
I think we used to do that. We used to circulate all, but I think we circulate all the councillors because I think we were told we have to kind of treat everybody equally, so we can circulate all of them.
Yep.
Sorry, is that not going to get really, really...
Yeah, have fun with that.
No, it doesn't have to be on every development. I would just say maybe the most...
So the ones that are going to MPC, right? That's usually only the ones we circulate to surrounding landowners. So we can also just send an email. I can get it to Diane. She usually does all the emailing to you.
Email's fine, just so that we're looking at the same thing.
Yep, we can do that.
So it's available, yeah, because I was put in a hard spot and trying to answer questions I had no knowledge of. So, yeah.
When they used to do it before, the reason they quit was because it was getting, some of the councillors were taking that as a okay to get involved in the developments. But I think as long as council understands that it's just a preempt of what's coming up, so that when residents start phoning them, they have an idea of what's going on in their area. Doesn't mean that they can get involved and do all of that. It's just they understand what's going on and they can explain the proper process to the residents when they phone. That's the biggest issue with it. So, good idea.
So there again, can we just not keep it to the division that the councillor is in? I mean, I'm going to see all of this. I would have saw this when my package comes out. You know, it's not good. Does that make any difference if Scott gets an idea that something's going to happen 2 weeks earlier? Like I just don't want to be, I just don't want to have, you know, hundreds of emails coming through on every, that's all I'm thinking about.
So there's two options for the commission, and we will definitely take this back and talk to council about this. Certainly is the local area councillor or council as a whole will get the package circulation. But we can certainly make a determination at the council level and then bring that back. And I think it's a real opportune time as well, because if we start something, you know, we can educate moving into the next term as well on that line and how to best manage that.
So, yeah, I think we got to be careful though that when you say send the package out, you don't want to send out too much information. You just want to give them a heads up that something's coming in the area, and the rest of the councillors also, because they will get calls. But personally, if it was me, I wouldn't want the whole package, because it would tend to get me.
No, but shouldn't they be seeing the same thing, that the adjacency?
No, I don't think so. I just need to know that there's a development being proposed for the area and where the area is, and then I know what's going on there. But I don't need to see the whole package, because that opens up the door to allow me to get involved in the process, and it will happen.
So the circulation letters that I send out to adjacents usually are a one-pager, and on the front is just a little blurb about high level, and then the back is like where it's at. So that's all I usually send out to adjacents. And then if they want more information, it says on the letter they can come to the office and view the whole file if they want. So that's how we usually do it.
That's fine. No, that's what I was, yeah.
Yes, Amber.
Two thoughts. I think we just have to confirm that the requirements in the MGA for things to be circulated to all of council, how that applies to a commission, the legislation around that. And then and this might be way out there, but I also have at times thought it might be interesting to see permitted approvals for development, just because at times something is approved that we're not aware of, and even just to celebrate business coming in or development. But I don't want to inundate council or the commission with information, but I always would be interested, so.
So we do, every time a development permit is issued, we send it to all of our staff that want to be included on that email stream. So I guess if somebody wanted to be added to that, I don't know if there's an issue with that.
Perhaps we could look into it.
So just through the chair to Commissioner Link, what we could do in terms of, there's monthly reports to council. We include statistics and all of that. We could look at, and granted now that we have that economic development program specific to, let's say, celebrating new businesses or something like this, we can certainly tweak the reports. We report on statistics, you know, and have that kind of synergy between those monthly reports to showcase that. If as a solution, and we'll certainly look through the Municipal Government Act on you know, the commissioners being and all of that, just kind of the nuances there as well. And so
I think your idea would be ideal, because then you're not getting inundated with, you know, all of the development permits that are permitted, but just the ones that are tied to investment attraction or economic development, because I think that would be good for us to know. And if we could just know division as well, so that if we want to look into it more, we can do so. Thank you.
Got that covered? Okay, let's get on to 109, please. Thank you, Suzanne.
So this application is for an entertainment venue for weddings and other special events. The location plan is on page 25 of the agenda package. And as you can see there, it is 1.5 miles northwest of Cluny. And we did circulate to landowners within 1 mile. The circulation map is on the same page there. We did not receive any responses from adjacent landowners. Internal staff, we had a few comments. The planner had recommended that the applicant provide barrier-free parking stalls. The Deputy Regional Fire Chief said they will require a follow-up fire inspection. One was completed earlier this year for the area where they hold the Charity Bull event, but the wedding venue was not done. And a quick walkthrough of the wedding venue was completed, but it was indicated to the owners that a formal inspection would be done at the time of the DP. The previous occupancy inspection was issued in October of 2019. As they are applying for a DP for that venue now, it would not be showing due diligence if we did not do an updated fire inspection for the venue. As this venue is for weddings or similar events with alcohol being served, we need to ensure they are in compliance with the fire code to ensure the safety of the guests and visitors. The manager of operations said that the proposal is located just off of Highway 1 with no other residences nearby, and they had no concerns with traffic or dust on the range road. Alberta Health Services was circulated. They did not have any comments at the time of the report, and the WID said they had no concerns. So on pages 26 and 27 of the agenda package, we have the site plan and aerial photos. The property is zoned rural business, and a temporary permit for a wedding venue was issued in 2017 until a rezoning was completed, which would allow the applicants to apply for an entertainment venue permit. The proposal is to operate a facility for hosting weddings and other special events, including a charity bull riding event. Photos and illustration of the wedding venue are page 28 and 29. No responses. Some policy evaluation is that we believe it is in compliance with the rural business district and the definition for special event, an event venue. We did not receive any responses from surrounding landowners. The venue has been operating since 2017 with no complaints received. The adjacent land use is a direct control district for RV storage, so the property just right next door is a direct control district, and the dwelling isn't even included in that zone. So there can't be a residence on there unless there was a rezoning. The applicants have worked to complete the recommendations from the previous fire and building code inspection. A follow-up fire inspection has been added as a condition, and Alberta Transportation has issued a roadside development permit for the venue. So on page 21 is the recommendation. Staff are recommending approval of the entertainment venue with the conditions as noted, and MPC's standard 3 options are on page 23, and that includes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. MPC's wishes.
I'll move to approve DP 2021-109 for an entertainment venue subject to the following conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's passed. We will move on to DP 2021-142.
Suzanne Hayes still presenting. The application is for a variance to the distance between buildings for 2 existing garages. On page 34, we see the location plan. And we can see that it's 1.5 miles northeast of Cheadle on Range Road 261. On the same page, we have the circulation map. It was circulated to landowners within 1 mile. We didn't receive any responses. Agency circulation was not performed. We did have one comment from internal circulation from the Deputy Regional Fire Chief, who said it appears from the drawings that the dwelling meets setback requirements from the 2 buildings, so there isn't any life safety concerns. The owners should be aware that due to the close proximity of the 2 garages, that in the event of a fire, there would likely be spread from one garage to the next. On page 35, we can see the RPR, which was what initiated this. They had applied for compliance. So there are 2 existing garages on site. One has a permit and one does not. The unpermitted garage was constructed in approximately 2010. It meets all the setback requirements with the exception of the distance between buildings. So the distance between the 2 should be 5 feet, and it is 3.39 feet, 1.20 meters. So some considerations, a farm build, so the application came in actually for the farm building as well, which is also on page 35 up here in the corner. That's the farm building. So we're processing them both on one application. They are both permitted uses in the country residential district. The variance is greater than 10%, so it needed to come to MPC. The proposal meets the criteria listed in the land use bylaw regarding variances, as it should not have a negative impact on surrounding landowners. No concerns were raised from the circulation, and no concerns were raised from the Deputy Regional Fire Chief or any other staff member. No permit can be issued for the garage in the current location if the variance is not granted. Alternatively, the garage could be moved in order to be issued a permit. And although I have the authority to grant the permitted use permit for the horse shelter, all of the permits are processed under one application. So if you do deny the variance for the garage, I will still issue the permit for the horse shelter. So on pages 30 and 31, staff's recommendation is for approval with conditions of the variance subject to the conditions as noted, and also for the permit for the horse shelter. And the standard 3 options are on page 32 for MPC to consider, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Yes, Commissioner.
I have a question, because this happens sometimes, and if those 2 buildings were one, would this even be an issue? Because, a couple $100 in lumber, they could easily become one building.
Yes, they could do that. They could add them. It would have to be kind of an addition, I think, one that you could kind of access one through the other.
But there was permit drawn on the first one, so it would be an addition too. Yeah. But it wouldn't be an issue then. Semantics of it sometimes amazes me. But
thank you.
I'll make the motion to approve 2021-142.
You have a question?
Yes. On page 32, Deputy Regional Fire Chief report, it says it appears from the drawings that the dwellings meets the setback requirements from the 2 buildings, so there isn't any life. So I'm thinking he's talking about the house from the garage, but he doesn't address the setbacks between the garages.
I think what
my only issue is I don't want to grant a variance if it's in contravention of the fire code. So I would like maybe that clarified.
Okay, so I think what he's saying, and this is typically how he looks at these, is that, is there a life safety concern? If it was going to be 3.43 feet from the house, he would probably have an issue with that. But he's saying the 2 garages are not too close to the house. So he says there isn't any life safety concerns with them being where they are, but just be aware that if one garage started on fire, it would likely spread to the other. So that's
how I read it.
Yeah.
Our question is the variance between the 2 garages.
Yes.
Yeah, so if we bring it down to that, is it still going to meet fire code? I don't want to be in contravention. or if there is even a fire code between two buildings being so close.
I think he mentioned that it's more if it's a dwelling and an accessory building, that fire code is more of an issue. It was my understanding before that 1.20 is the setback, the minimum setback that you could go from a dwelling to an accessory building, but I think he says that it doesn't matter so much if it's between two accessory buildings.
Okay. As long as we're clear on that.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Clausen on this. Any discussion?
So before we can vote, or before I can vote, staff would check on that, make sure it meets fire code?
Perhaps we could recess for 5 minutes.
So I had just asked the Deputy Regional Fire Chief, and then I'll be getting an answer shortly on that.
Okay, do we need to recess?
I would suggest, yeah.
Okay, we'll recess for 5 minutes. We need a break. We'll come back at 10:15.
So was I.
You have been muted. To unmute yourself, press the star key twice.
Do so through the chair. The
Mute
deputy.
off.
I'll call the meeting back to order.
So just through the chair, the Deputy Fire Chief just confirmed he had a read through of the report again. There's no fire code concerns.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Any other discussion? I'll call the vote. All in favor? And that passes. We now move on to DP 2021-143.
So this application is for a farm building, a personal riding arena, with a variance request to Township Road 234, which is Glenmore Trail. So if we go to the location plan, which is on page 43 of the agenda, we will see there that it is located 4 miles east of Highway 24 on the south side of Glenmore Trail. We circulated to landowners within 1 mile, so you can see the circulation area also on page 43. And we did have one response from a neighbor, which is provided to you in Appendix F. The applicant has also submitted a letter in response to the proposed recommendation of staff, which I believe you all received a copy. Is everybody okay with proceeding? Okay. Agency circulation was not performed. Internal staff had the following comments.
You have been muted. To unmute yourself, press the star key twice. Mute off.
Our planning staff said there may be a concern with visibility for the intersection for vehicles going eastbound on Glenmore. They might not be able to see vehicles approaching northbound on Range Road 254. Our county manager of operations, his original response, this application originally they wanted to be 10 feet from the property line along Glenmore Trail with the riding arena. So his original response was transportation would be against granting this variance and would recommend that all structures meet the approved setbacks. Glenmore is a high traffic paved road with a maximum speed of 100 kilometers per hour. Structures within the setback area could present a hazard to traffic that may inadvertently leave the roadway. This structure also may present sightline issues for the Range Road intersection to the east. The structure may also be at risk of being struck by snow during plowing operations and may cause unintended drifting of snow on the roadway. So the applicant had then revised the setback, and transportation had then added to their response saying, regarding the revised setback, which was revised to 54 feet rather than the 10 feet, discussions were held with the general manager of transportation and infrastructure. And in regards to this request, and the consensus is that transportation will not approve any variance to the setbacks along Glenmore Trail as noted in the concerns previously provided. the General Manager of Transportation and Agriculture said, I share the same concerns outlined by the Manager of Operations and agree that we should seek to maintain the standard required setback for this major throughway, which links the town of Strathmore as well as the county's hamlets to the south end of Calgary. So the applicant had submitted this letter, which you all have had a copy of, and I sent it to the GM of Transportation to say, would you read the letter from the applicant and let me know if, you have any change to your position. So this is what he had said then. The response to the applicant letter dated August 16th, 21. In general, the road setbacks are set in place for various reasons, such as, though not necessarily limited to, maintaining good sight lines, creating a clear zone adjacent to the road for safety reasons, avoiding prevailing shadows on the road that may cause slippery road conditions in the winter, and allowing space for possible future road widening and intersection improvements. While it may be that not every reason for maintaining the road setback is of specific concern at all locations along a road right-of-way, it remains advisable and in keeping with good practice to maintain the road setbacks wherever feasible. As such, transportation still maintains that the setback distance should be maintained at the location of the request variance. From myself, I had responded to one of the comments provided from the applicant in her letter where she was talking about the property to the west. And so she had said that that house appeared to be at the same distance from the road as what she is proposing. So I just wanted to respond to that piece. And I said, our data indicates that the home was constructed in 1916 and is approximately, it showed on Municipal, 120 feet from the property line adjacent to Glenmore Trail. Aerial photos on file only go back as far as 2000, but they show that the shelter belt was there at that time. In this case, precedents may have been set when Glenmore Trail actually was a trail, that's just my comment, or a very minor road at least, and not the well-traveled connector road it is today. So on pages 44, 45, and 46, so on page 44, we see the newly proposed setback, which is 54 feet. The proposal is for the riding arena of 9,100 square feet on a 3-acre parcel which borders Glenmore Trail, and then on the east side it borders Range Road 254. The required setback from the right-of-way of a public road is 75 feet. There was several limitations you can see on the expanded view on the page there that they had setbacks to 2 roads. They had a septic field on the lower right-hand side and a water well on the lower left-hand side. And then they had the approach and the dwelling. So they had several limitations on that site. So as I said, they originally wanted to put it 10 feet, which is what the next site plan is on page 45, but they revised it to 54 feet. They realized that they had been measuring from the fence line, which was actually not the property line, and they were able to pull it back as far as they thought was possible. So, as I mentioned, the new revised setback was again not supported by the County Transportation and Infrastructure Department. And I also had contacted the landowner that had submitted the objection, and I said they've planned to move this back, and would you be okay with that? Would your concerns be alleviated? But he said no, that they would not be. So they're still concerned with snow plowing issues, road widening, potential for rocks and the snow to hit the building, and safety concerns and possibly liability. The applicant and the building contract, okay, so I said that already. So if approved, the proposed building would meet all other setbacks, and the access to the riding arena will be shared with the current dwelling along Range Road 254. Policy evaluation. The proposal does not meet the variance criteria outlined in LUB 4.3 as it will interfere with the maintenance and possible road widening of Glenmore Trail. The Transportation and Infrastructure Department are not satisfied that the revised setback will address their concerns. The landowner who had concerns is not satisfied that his concerns have been met either with the revised setback. So the recommendation, which is on page 40 of the agenda package, is that Municipal Planning Commission refuse DP 2021-143 for a new farm building, a personal riding arena, with a variance to the setback from the right-of-way of a public road for the following reasons. Township Road 234 Glenmore Trail is a major throughway and may require a future road widening as the traffic counts are the highest of any road in the county. A building within the setback area may hinder future road widenings. Safety concerns, which include motor vehicle traffic that may inadvertently leave the road as at speeds of 100 kilometers per hour or higher in an accident scenario. Intersection, sightline obstruction, drifting snow in winter, risk of building being struck by mower, rocks and debris and/or ice or snow during plowing operations, and unintended drifting of snow on the roadway. The variance would set a precedent for other variance requests along Glenmore Trail. So MPC has their standard 3 response options, which are on page 41. They can accept staff's recommendation, they cannot accept it, or they can provide an alternate recommendation. And that concludes my presentation. Please let me know if you have questions.
Thank you, Suzanne. MPC's wishes.
Question more than what would happen if we agreed to allow them to do this and transportation says they don't agree with that? Don't they come first? We have to fall under their parameters. We can't. If transportation doesn't agree with it.
I think it's our transportation department, internal.
Yeah, but this is a provincial highway. We have to follow their.
No,
it's county roads.
Through the chair, this is not a provincial highway, and the internal circulation was a transportation and agriculture, our internal department. That's the comments.
What was all this about Glenmore? Old Glenmore is ours, that's not provincial?
Correct.
Oh, okay, that's why, okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Well, just a little statement before I vote here. This is a classic on a corner lot. The setbacks, if they were in somewhere else where they didn't have a secondary highway or I would call it a secondary highway in front of their place, the setbacks wouldn't be apply. But I live in a same kind of setup on an undeveloped road access that I have to comply with this. It changes how your property is set. When you buy a corner lot, you have to be aware you have those setbacks on 2 sides of your property, and I fully support what the staff is putting forward because it's a busy road.
I wonder if the building was switched to the other direction, if it would be able to meet the setbacks. Because it would tuck down in deeper into that. I think there's ways he can make it work.
If the applicant were to submit a new site plan and were able to meet the setbacks, I could approve it without it going to MPC. So if they can rejig it and spin it around or make it a little narrower or something, move it a little bit, then it wouldn't need to come back. I can approve it.
Yep.
Can I ask another question?
Certainly you can.
If this was an outdoor arena with no building, there'd be no problems. Correct? Okay, thanks.
MPC's wishes?
I'll move staff's recommendation.
Thank you, Commissioner Armstrong. Any discussion? I'll call the vote. All in favor? That takes care of DP 2021, that the variance is denied. And we will now move on to DP 2021-147. And is that yours again, Suzanne?
Yes.
Take it away. Thank you.
Okay. So this application is for a home-based business. It's a home-based carpentry business, a home-based business type 2. And the location plan is on page 55 of the agenda package. It's located within the hamlet of Cheadle on the east side of Highway 24. So the circulation was performed to adjacent landowners +1. So you can see on page 55 the circulation area. We did not receive any responses. Agency circulation was not performed, and internal staff had no concerns with the application. So on page 56 and 57, we can see the site plan and an aerial photo. So the business has been operating in Calgary since 2017. They specialize in custom woodworking, carpentry, and home repairs. The applicant is applying to relocate the business to an existing building on the property recently purchased within the hamlet of Cheadle. So we looked at the policy evaluation. The application is in alignment with the MDP and the Cheadle ASP. There is a little bit of discrepancy in the land use bylaw where it talks about the home-based business type 2. So the definition allows an accessory building for a type 2 and the regulations do not. So if we look at the chart, which is on page 51 of the agenda package, and it lists the different types of home-based business. Under type 2, where it says accessory building structures, it says none allowed. But I've weighed this against the definition, and we are in the process of kind of fixing those little, and I know it had gone to committee of the whole before, and council wanted everything to be tweaked, and they were okay with the accessory building, so that's kind of what I went with, was the definition. The placement of the garage is not next to any adjacent dwellings. There's like no dwelling on either side. And no letters of concern were received from surrounding landowners. The business activities will not occur outside of the dedicated accessory building either. So the recommendation, which is found on page 50, is for approval of the home-based business type 2 for a 2-year term subject to the conditions. And MPC has the standard 3 options, which are found on page 53. And that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. I will move that the Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2021-147 for a home business based type 2 subject to the conditions. Discussions. Seeing none, all in favor? That is passed. We will now go on to subdivision applications, and we will start with SD 2021-007.
You have to say it's the lightning round.
Yeah.
Good morning, Commissioners, and welcome back. Stefan Kuntz presenting on behalf of administration this morning. So subdivision item SD 2021-007. Just go to the map here. These lands are located just south of the village of Hussar. They're immediately south of Highway 561 and on the west side of Range Road 201. Now you may recall this item as council from July 6th, when a portion of the lands were redesignated from agriculture general to country residential. So the purpose of this application is boundary adjustment. So to take the existing 2.15 acre parcel, increase it in size by 3.36 acres for a final lot 1 parcel size of 5.51 acres. That will leave a remainder for lot 2 of 154.21 acres. In terms of the site conditions, Lot 1 is developed with a dwelling and associated servicing infrastructure. Many of the agricultural buildings that are currently located within Lot 2 will be within the newly proposed boundary of Lot 1. There will be a few other agricultural buildings in Lot 2, but there's no dwelling and therefore no servicing. Access is available to both parcels to the north via Highway 561. Additionally, Lot 2 has an approach accessing Range Road 201 to the east. As this is still the first parcel out and no further lots are being created, Municipal Reserve is not considered in this case. There were no concerns from adjacent landowners, and administration has no concerns with the technical requirements. Therefore, we are recommending approval in accordance with the standard set of conditions, which are included in the report. That concludes my presentation. Be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. MPC's wishes.
I'll move the recommended action.
Thank you, Commissioner Kester. Discussion? All in favor? That is passed. We will move on to SD 2021-009.
Hello again, Stefan Kuntz here presenting. Subdivision SD 2021-009 is located northwest of the intersection of Township Road 230 and Range Road 251. Purpose of this application is to create 3 4.7 acre parcels with a 142.43 acre remainder. So the 3 parcels are designated country residential district and the remainder is agriculture general. Lands are currently not developed. They are proposed to be developed or serviced by water wells and private sewage treatment systems. Those will be confirmed at the development permit stage. In terms of access, there is one approach currently existing to the southern lot. The middle lot and northern lot require new approaches to Range Road 251. The northern lot will be a shared approach with the remainder lands in order to provide access to that parcel as well. And in this situation, there is currently a parcel taken out of the southwest corner here, so all these lands are subject to the municipal reserve requirement. So the total for those is 14.1 acres, so 10 per that. The approximate value is $9,940. So that condition for the municipal reserve payment has been included. Other than that, it's the standard set of conditions. We are recommending approval in accordance with the option provided, as well as the conditions in the report. That concludes my presentation, and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Stefan. MPC's wishes.
I'd like to move the recommendation of subdivision application 2021009, subject to the following conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner Bigger. Discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That is passed.
You call for any opposed?
What's that?
You call for any opposed?
Any opposed? Okay, all in favor. Any opposed? They're noted.
Him.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I didn't look around. So that there was 2 opposed. That is passed.
I didn't see you in the camera.
Yeah.
The faster I go, the sooner we get there.
So I just have a question about cultural history. How do those get to, who has that information? The provincial government?
Through the chair, you're speaking about the historical resource approval?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be through that department. There is a mechanism through the province that they can apply and then confirm to us.
They get all the
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, it's Alberta culture.
Alberta culture.
Yes.
Is there a zone where that kicks in?
Pardon, sorry.
Sorry.
Is there an area where that would kick in for people, like a defined area, or is it just different spots? I've been asked this before.
Yes. So through the chair, upon referral, obviously the province will note all of the circulation, and then you have Alberta Culture who will review, and there's a historical resources value index, HRV, index. And according to, obviously, upon referral, they noted that there was an HRV value, I think it was 4A or 5A upon this, and then they will notify, obviously, the county that there is a historical resource value on the land, and then there is an application process. It doesn't slow down the application. This is a concurrent thing that applicants, obviously, they get notified, and then they can apply through the application process at Alberta Culture to receive approval.
Are the landowners aware of that prior to this, or does this just trigger this?
That I cannot comment on. I'm not entirely sure if the landowners are aware.
Most landowners aren't aware that there's cultural aspect to
Shouldn't they be, though?
So
I didn't know until I looked it up on ours.
Can staff in the future somehow bring up, put together, do some research into this and figure out how a certain piece of property is chosen for this? Because I know where that piece of property is. That piece of property would have been absolutely destroyed with the making of the canal up there, right? So I'm not sure if any, so I don't know what triggers that, and I believe I've inquired, and
we both have, because I know that our Buffalo Jumps has the cultural whatever you want to call it, and nobody.
Is there a mapping or anything like that we can follow?
Through the chair, there is a map. I think obviously they don't know every single parcel in Alberta. They have kind of a general idea. If there was a railroad through, or if there was a hamlet or something, then they might have an idea. That's what triggers the province to then say, we believe there might be something here. If it requires an assessment, then they can do the assessment, and then that determines whether or not it actually is. A lot of times it just says, no, there wasn't anything, or we didn't find anything. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And then depending on what they find, a lot of times it's, if it's a fire ring or a teepee ring or arrowhead or something, then they take it, log it, and then it's whatever. If it's obviously, a large building or something like that, then they might have other requirements.
And at whose cost is this done?
There isn't, through the chair, to the chair, there is an application fee for one to apply to get an analysis of the historical resources on that property. So it's an applicant fee.
But why is that? Why, as a landowner, should I have to pay for something I wasn't even aware of?
That's my the question is if I'm doing everything according to Hoyle and I get called on this because this just sort of gets sprung on you. You guys don't know this is going on. So if you don't know what's going on, I don't know what's going on. How come and some third party decides that this may or may not be a historical site? Why does that cost me any money? I'm just
through the chair. So it's essentially another cost of development, same as if they were required to do a stormwater pond or connect to servicing or upgrade a road or do an approach, those type of things. If it's only triggering
30 years ago.
Well, again, a lot of times it's simply they just note it and that's it. If it is kind of a larger thing, then yes, they're required to do that. But that's essentially, a cost for development.
But so I'm just trying to get this square. So this applicant proposed this subdivision at the point in time did they know before they did the application that they would be required to do a heritage assessment of this? Because if I build a piece of property, if I'm going to build a piece of property, I know that I need to do stormwater management and all that, and I can factor all those costs into my construct, into the overall cost of the thing. So
it doesn't come up that often that we may not have mentioned it. It is one of those things that's included in it's either in the MGA or the subdivision development regulations that we have to consider septic access. These type of things. And then if it's near a highway or if it's near a wetland, we have to notify the proper provincial bodies, and then it mentions this Historical Resource Act as well. So it's one of those things you have to, if you're going down the road of doing development, you have to do your due diligence as a developer in order to determine those costs.
Those costs should be put on the developer. He wants to develop it, you pay the costs. If something comes up that isn't, you can always pull that one out.
Yeah, on our application forms, we also include that we may require these reports. Sometimes they don't until analysis, but we always list that there may be additional reports or studies required at the applicant's expense.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? This has been passed, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we will move on to SD 2021-010.
Yep, Stefan Kuntz presenting again. SD 2021-010 is located just north of the village of Rockyford. It's on the east side of Range Road 223. So this one is a little bit different from usual. Instead of creating lots, this is actually reducing the number of lots here. The applicant has decided to change the direction he's going in a little bit. So there are currently 2.97 acre parcels proposed to be consolidated into the remainder, which is a 69.46 acre parcel. So this means that the 4 parcels will be down to one 78.37 acre parcel. You may recall this, previously it was redesignated back to agricultural general in order to account for this. So once this takes place, you'll see here this road right-of-way that has been dedicated, but the road hasn't been constructed. So in the future, that will be closed and then presumably consolidated back into the remainder as well. So there's no development on any of these 2.97 acre parcels, so there's no concerns there. The applicant does have a dwelling and some accessory buildings here on the remainder lands. The approach exists. It's located accessing Range Road 233. So because this is simply essentially a bookkeeping thing to help the applicant satisfy his goals, and it's not creating any lots, many of the conditions don't actually apply. So in this case, there are only 3. That would be the plan of survey, paying up the taxes, and having the approach inspected. Yeah, there are no concerns in regards to technical matters, and administration recommends approval with the attached conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. MPC's wishes?
I move that we approve the application.
Thank you, Commissioner Kester. Any discussion?
I have a question. So when these subdivisions were done, municipal reserve was taken, and now they're going back. So in the future, it gets subdivided again. Can we take municipal reserve again, or are we limited?
To the chair to the committee, no. It's on record that that portion and the acreage is paid, and so there is a caveat that's on the remainder lands, and it will show that they've paid a portion. So it will only identify that 10% of a certain percentage is left to be paid. So we track it.
So
in other words,
could they be liable for the increase in value, or?
For if they subdivide in the future and those 3 lots were created again, they wouldn't pay municipal reserve. It was already taken. They would on the 60-something acres. If that was subdivided further, okay, we would take municipal reserves on those portions of land that are owing.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's just an odd. We're just going the other way. Thanks.
We have a motion on the floor. I'll call the vote. All in favor? Any opposed? It's passed. We now Subdivision 2021-014.
All right, Stefan Kuntz again presenting. Subdivision 2021-014 is located approximately 6 miles west of town of Strathmore. It's between 1.5 miles and a half mile north of Highway 1 and on the east side of Range Road 264. You may recall this item from February 16th Council when a portion of the lands were redesignated from Agriculture General to Industrial General District. So the purpose of this application is to create a 10-acre parcel with a 150-acre remainder. The applicant runs a packaging business on site. They package a variety of products such as kitty litter and sugar beet lime, and they're proposing to expand their operation and hopefully hire a few more employees in the next couple of years. So looking to expand into the area behind the existing structure there. So the servicing is provided by septic field and water well, and access is available to Range Road 264 in location to the 10-acre parcel. The remainder parcel will require a new approach constructed pretty much anywhere along 264. As this is the first parcel out, the municipal reserve does not apply in this situation. During the redesignation application, one of the neighboring landowners raised a concern. This facility down here to the southwest features a fertilizer plant. So there is a 500-meter setback from that facility to any other kind of building or dwelling. So this area is approximately 450 meters. Fertilizer Canada and the county doesn't really have any concerns with this because that setback is intended to prevent proposed facilities from locating adjacent to existing buildings, as these are both already there, and this is just an expansion of an existing building. The applicant is aware of the setback and of the facility. He's moved it, obviously, as far as he can, to stay away and still be within the lands. So administration has no concerns from a technical perspective, and other than that concern raised by the neighboring landowner, there were no concerns from the neighbors. So we are recommending approval in accordance with the conditions, which are the standard set in the report. Concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. MPC's wishes.
I'll move that we approve subdivision application 2021-014, subject to the following conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner Bigger. Discussion?
Just wanted to add a note to this. This facility, I know before was mentioned about traffic and guys parking on the road with trucks, and since we've been addressed, it's the guys aren't parking on the road anymore; they're parking inside. Some of them show up early. And a further note, because I drive this every day, the anhydrous facility to the south has had similar trucks parked on the road. So, want people to know that. Thank you.
Any other discussions? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All in favor? That's unanimous. That is passed. Are there any other planning matters?
None from administration.
That's fantastic. I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you very much.
Call recording and transcription are turned off.